A sociological phenomenon that I find particularly interesting, as well as semi-alarming, is when a fandom turns toxic. Whatever. Hola, my name's X, and I like to experiment with fashion, as well as talk about whatever really the hell I want on social media whenever I feel like it. Today I wanted to talk about when a fandom turns toxic. For quick context, I do character-inspired outfits. I have familiarity with a fairly broad spectrum of different franchises and series and different types of characters. In order to do character-inspired outfits, you need to understand the personality, the style, the vibe of these characters in the universes in which they inhabit. And so that has introduced me to, obviously, a number of different communities, both niche as well as kind of broad and mainstream. What I've noticed is that toxicity can come about really in any form. It's not exclusive to one type or volume of community. Usually when a community becomes very niche and has kind of lived out its peak, some of the people left over are especially attached to the media or very gatekeepy, and that can manifest in different forms of toxic behavior. Or when a fandom kind of starts small and is kind of like new and positive, once it goes mainstream and blows up, then you can get a whole bunch of people pouring in and just bringing a lot of unnecessary toxicity and weird behavior into that community. But the main reason why I think fandoms become toxic, and fandoms doesn't necessarily just mean like cartoons or movies or TV shows. It could be even around content creators or specific public figures that have a certain ideology, thinking manosphere here. I think what really drives a fandom to start becoming toxic is over-identification. At the end of the day, media to a certain extent, or content creators or figures in any sort of form to an extent, act as a form of representation for others. People identify, they see themselves in those people. Those people represent ideologies, concepts, features, histories, behaviors, identities that others can relate to and that resonate with them. And that's important because we live in such a wide, diverse world, and especially if we're going to be observing and watching a piece of entertainment or someone share something with us, we want to know that it has some sort of parallel with values or things based in the real world. But the definition of over-identification is literally identifying. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You're identifying with something so far as to if that certain something or someone is criticized or is impacted or something happens to it, you're drawing that feeling onto you directly as if it's like specifically happening to you. I've talked about this on TikTok before because I have a fairly large following that is very into anime, very into video games. And I think that a slippery slope that we can have in being so immersed in some of our favorite forms of media is we can over-identify. I've over-identified. When I've seen someone critique a character that like dresses silly or is really expressive, I've just been like, why are we shaming that character for that? Because I do similar things, and if that character is being insulted, it's somehow a critique or a commentary on me as well. Which I think that what we need to do is exercise some level of separation. And I hate to say it, because I think it can be invalidating and a little undermining, it's fictional. Largely, over-identification takes place with things that are fictional. It's not real. It's not based on a true story. It's not nonfiction. It's sci-fi. It's fantasy. It's action adventure with elements that would never happen and cannot happen in our tangible 3D immediate physical world. And beyond just a fandom becoming toxic as a result of over-identification, I think the biggest implication is that we lose individuality. We lose independence and sense of self. And knowing that we are such a diverse species with so many different lived experiences, so many different perspectives and cognitions and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, getting lost in groupthink just erases what we get from one another and what we can express to one another. A few specific examples in which I've experienced is my community or followers on social media, they loved Danganronpa. I went through like a Danganronpa phase. And And it was fun because like the outfits are kind of nice there, the characters are diverse, there was a lot to work with. But given that it touches on things like mental health and interpersonal dynamics and trauma, those are really sensitive hot button issues that people can identify with, especially if they not only enjoy the gameplay mechanics or the narrative and lore, but it also can resonate with them and they can maybe learn how to work through things as characters work through things. But that also left way for a lot of people to latch onto certain behaviors and taking on certain actions and perspectives that the characters had that just does not translate to the real world effectively or really even in a healthy way. Two examples that I think are semi-parallel to one another is Cookie Run and Genshin Impact. Again, forms of media that tend to resonate with younger audiences, which I feel like is where over-identification can take place the most. We're talking ethnic inspiration, all right? Cultural inspiration. I kind of got a little semi-caught up in maybe the Cookie Run stuff a little bit too. When you have characters that take on cultural garments or have backgrounds that clearly depict some sort of like ethnic influence, those of us who have underrepresentation obviously want to see that done appropriately and with due diligence and justice. And so when we see that there might be some misappropriation of some things, then that can kind of be a little weird and we might have a propensity to take that personally. But I just think that some people take it a little too far. At the end of the day, these things aren't real. It's based off of a cookie. It's based off of people who live in this Hoyoverse, this magical fantasy Hoyoverse. We can't go there. We don't know them. They don't truly live in the actual countries in which the inspiration is drawn from. There really is no direct insult or impact on that culture. If anything, it's more of a reflection of the creators or developers of these medias than it is a reflection of us or poor quality of these cultures or ethnicities, etc. But we can see that some of this over-identification and toxicity can take place with something like Lord of the Rings, where with the Amazon series and featuring people of color, the fandom just gets really nasty, even racist. And it's because they've identified with the universe and the characters so much to the point where they can't even see some other evolution of being within that universe and space. And I guess my question for people like that, instead of arguing with them, instead of trying to reason with what is clearly some form of delusion, is what are we trying to accomplish here? What is the end goal of gatekeeping or abusing others or trying to be the smartest person about lore and other things like that? What true value is that bringing to your life and your real 3D Earth living experience and achievements? That's something that I will never understand. At the end of the day, I am watching a TV show, a movie, I am playing a video game for entertainment. And when it comes to maybe a content creator or a public figure, say some of these YouTubers, some of these TikTokers, or some of these other people who have really controversial takes politically and psychologically and interpersonally. It's like I may be drawing some level of education from them, but entertainment and education is where it stops. They don't have any ownership, bearing, or governance over my identity, my personality, or who I am. I have governance over that. And I think that that's what people just need to remember and take a quick step back. Let's take a beat and remember that that's reality. That's how it is. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that. I just get so weirded out, annoyed, and just like turned off when I just see people act up over these things. It's just like there's actual bigger issues impacting our actual general world day to day right now that we could be like allocating that energy towards instead of these other things, which are at times really just distractions at the end of the day. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. I don't know. I'm trying to get used to this YouTube creation thing or like horizontal format situation. So definitely give me any feedback respectfully, because some of y'all be acting up in the comments. And if there's any other kind of concepts that you would like to explore with me, and maybe we can kind of dissect together, go ahead and let me know. And if you could like and subscribe, I'm gonna give that whole spiel, I can't believe I'm doing this. That would be really appreciated. It could help me just get out there so I can continue to just kind of learn, grow, and explore within this video creation space. Anyway, I hope you have a great day and talk to you later.